From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are following at this hour. The world grappled Sunday with the United States inserting itself into Israel's war by attacking Iranian nuclear sites, an operation that raised urgent questions about what remained of Tehran's nuclear program and how its weakened military might respond. Experts warned that worldwide efforts to contain the spread of nuclear weapons by peaceful means would be at stake in the days ahead, while fears of a wider regional conflict loomed large. The price of oil rose as financial markets reacted. Iran lashed out at the U.S. for crossing a very big red line with its risky gambit to strike the three sites with missiles and 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. Iran's UN ambassador Amir Said Iravani told an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council that the U.S. decided to destroy diplomacy and that the Iranian military will decide, quote, the timing, nature, and scale of a proportionate response, end quote. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi flew to Moscow to coordinate with close ally Russia. Tens of thousands of American troops are based in the Middle East. Ali Akbar Velayati, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader, said any country used by the United States to strike Iran will be a legitimate target for our armed forces, the state-run IRNA news agency reported. At first, the Trump administration indicated it wanted to restart diplomatic talks with Iran. Let's meet directly, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in an interview with CBS. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. does not seek war. But President Donald Trump, who has warned of additional strikes if Tehran retaliates against U.S. forces, later mused about the possibility of regime change in Iran. The U.S. strikes confirmed by the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran hit the Fordo and Natanz enrichment facilities, as well as the Isfahan nuclear site. Iran and the UN nuclear watchdog said there were no immediate signs of radioactive contamination around them. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, Iran and Israel traded air and missile strikes as the world braced on Monday for Tehran's response to the U.S. attack on its nuclear sites. Iran vowed to defend itself on Sunday, a day after the U.S. joined Israel in the biggest Western military action against the country since its 1979 Islamic Revolution, despite calls for restraint and a return to diplomacy from around the world. Commercial satellite imagery indicated the U.S. attack on Saturday on Iran's subterranean Fordo nuclear plant severely damaged or destroyed the deeply buried site and the uranium-enriching centrifuges it housed. But the status of the site remained unconfirmed, experts said. Trump earlier called on Iran to forego any retaliation and said the government must now make peace or, quote, future attacks would be far greater and a lot easier. The U.S. launched 75 precision-guided munitions, including bunker buster bombs and more than 24 Tomahawk missiles, against 3 Iranian nuclear sites, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane told reporters. Tehran, which denies its nuclear program is for anything other than peaceful purposes, sent a volley of missiles at Israel in the aftermath of the U.S. attack, wounding scores of people and destroying buildings in Tel Aviv. In financial news, the price of oil rose and U.S. stock futures fell as global markets begin to react to the U.S. strike against nuclear targets in Iran. The price of Brent crude oil, the international standard, rose 2.6% to $79 a barrel. U.S. crude rose 2.6% to $75.76 a barrel. On Saturday, U.S. forces attacked 3 Iranian nuclear and military sites, further increasing the stakes in the war between Israel and Iran. Futures for the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 0.4%, while NASDAQ futures fell 0.5%. Treasury yields were little changed. The modest moves indicate markets are taking the latest development in stride. That was evident in early Asian trading. Tokyo's Nikkei 225 index fell 0.6%. Other major regional markets also logged moderate declines. The conflict, which began with an Israeli attack against Iran on June 13th, has sent oil prices yo-yoing, which has in turn caused seesaw moves for the U.S. stock market. because of rising and ebbing fears that the war could disrupt the global flow of crude oil. Iran is a major producer of that oil and also sits on the narrow Strait of Hormuz, through which much of the world's crude passes, approximately 20 to 25%. That's the news at this hour. If you are watching our videos on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Download the Live 365 app to take us with you wherever you go. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.